All right, so I'll just start with a little introduction. Hey Gahi,
Yes.
how's it going?
Hello. I'm
So,
fine. I'm good.
awesome. That's good to hear. So, Gahi and I have been friends for ages. We only speak like once in 5 years now. But
Oops.
we, it's as much my bad as it is yours. We went to high school together in Bangalore, India,
Yep.
and Gahi has a super interesting story. So, Gahi, you are half Korean, half French,
Yep.
and you've lived in India, you've lived in France, you've lived in South Korea, or you live in South Korea right now,
Yeah. And I lived in China.
and you live
I
in
lived in the
China. That's
UK.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just a very well traveled, and not only well traveled, but well lived person, I would say, because you've spent so much time in these places and you got to live like a
Yeah.
local a little bit. And I think that's really awesome. And you're probably one of the most unique people I know in terms of, where you've been and your backstory.
Damn.
So yeah, could you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about where you lived and about your story coming up to here?
Well, so I was born in Hong Kong, but like my dad and my mom were living in China, so I was just born in Hong Kong and then we moved straight back into China and then most of my earlier childhood was in Beijing, and I went to international school there. And then I moved to France briefly for maybe a year and a half. And then I came back to China, but I lived in Shenzhen at the time. And then, where else did I go? Oh, I went to Korea for a little bit, and then I left. Uh, went back to France for like 6 months and then went to India and that's where we met. We met at a Canadian international
Mm-hmm.
school.
Super random.
Yeah. And and then I moved back to China for a little while and I think that's where we lost touch for a little bit because you ended up moving and I actually came back I think a year later. And then, yeah, and then I stayed in India and then graduated and then went to university in England. And
Ah,
then
nice.
after England, uh, just wanted to be a little bit more French because I know I'm half French, but I have very little cultural ties to being French. Uh, maybe apart from liking to eat croissant, you know. But yeah, and then yeah, so I lived in France and then COVID hit and I couldn't like really leave or go anywhere, so I ended up coming back to Korea as soon as I could because of some financial stuff. And I came back, I was like, you know what, I might as well be an English teacher, do the easy job that you can get in Korea. And then my mom was like, "Hey, why don't you think about actually like building a career?" And then I worked at a company, a gear manufacturing startup. And then
Interesting. Is that like automobile gears?
no, like actual like it's like an attachment to motors, not like
Okay.
engines, like to motors. But like you could put them in a car, for example, like in like for example, I think Bentleys, they use this specific gear that well, not me anymore, but like that my company used to make that like pulls the chair in and
Yeah,
back
okay.
and yeah.
So that's like a motor that does that, I'm guessing, in
Yeah,
the
like
car.
those automatic zzz,
Yeah, yeah.
zzz, yeah.
Nice. I'll think of you
Yeah.
every time I do that. I'll be like, "Zzz." God, he did this.
And then now I'm working at um a different company, still a manufacturing company, and I don't know how much into detail I can say,
No worries.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's basically a company that makes the non-mechanical parts of the smartphone cameras. So
Mm.
like the stiffener or the encasing of the cameras in the phone.
Super interesting. So I guess this is like tied into the Samsung ecosystem in that you're a supplier for
Ooh,
Samsung or some other phones, or you can't say. That's fine.
I can't say, but it's not Samsung.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fair
Although
enough.
I do use a Samsung, so
Nice.
am I a traitor?
Representing Korea.
Yes.
Cool. That's super interesting. Sorry, I cut you off when you got to the gear manufacturing bit.
Oh yeah,
Please
no.
continue.
Yeah. So I'm not even sure how much into detail I can talk about this, but considering I haven't given much detail about what gears and whatnot, maybe I can. Uh, I left for multiple reasons, and actually it was a toxic work culture, but not in the sense of like, oh, you have to stay and work until this time. It was more like of an inter coworker not even conflict, just very not comfortable. That's how I'm gonna put it. Um, at
What, like
when I was
sexual
working, yeah,
harassment type stuff, or?
uh, I wouldn't go as far as sexual harassment, but
Okay.
it was quite touchy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know I'm not the only girl. Oh, well, we were three girls there, and I know I'm not the only one that experienced that. And but that's not actually the reason why I left. Like,
Okay.
I
When
was
that
actually
part you
like,
were
okay,
like, eh.
yeah,
Is
I
it?
was like, if it doesn't get further than this,
Yeah.
I'm kind of willing to take it. The pay is good. They gave me the company car so I can drive to work.
Nice.
So not endurable as a woman.
Okay.
But yeah, it was more of like I think it's because I am a girl and because I'm a foreigner. That was the kind of annoying crux of, oh, you have to do it this way because that's how we do it in Korea.
Hmm.
Or, yeah, like you have to get it checked by these many people because this is how we do it in Korea. You can't give your input because this is how it is in Korea.
Hmm.
So, like,
A very
yeah,
hierarchical, process-driven work culture.
yeah. And we were a startup. We were like only like less than 10 employees in total.
Yeah. Yeah, normally you expect in startups for everyone to have a lot of initiative and kind of drive things on their
Yeah.
own. And
Yeah, so it was kind of it felt really claustrophobic in that sense and um a lot of startups in Korea, they tend to just live off of government funding, which I mean, a lot of startups do that, which so I can't be much of a hater on that, but like it seemed like that was their only motive of like staying alive. So
mm,
I felt like, this company didn't have much vision. The CEO had his vision was so short-sighted, it seemed. And yeah, so I mean, my position there was had nothing to do with engineering. I was just a marketing girl who dealt with overseas marketing and sales because they needed a white girl, kind of. In their eyes, I'm white.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, fair enough. I've heard that in China, for example, they have this role called the white monkey.
yeah, the white monkey. That's basically me.
Okay. Yeah, for if anyone's listening and doesn't know what the white monkey is, it's some Chinese like restaurants or companies, they'll hire a white person and kind of just have them hang out at the door outside
Yeah.
or something like that to
Yeah.
like show people that there's a status symbol associated with that or
Yeah. And
interesting.
so my CEO, he used me so much. He was like, "Yeah, we even have a French girl who went to university in the UK.
Wow,
We are
wow.
very blessed."
Yay. Okay. That's so interesting. I've
Yeah.
had a bit of a monkey role at a company before, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was more of an English speaking monkey. But
Yeah, that me. English
okay.
speaking international monkey.
Yeah.
That's what I was. Um but the company I'm working at now, it's also 100% it's a way bigger company. Um and I'm working in the R&D department. Yeah. So a
Super
little bit
cool.
more
So are you like
technical.
doing scientific experiments or you kind of just help out with the experiments or How does
I'm
that
a
look?
project I'm in project management,
Project management.
so I oversee the researchers and engineers.
Nice. So you're
Yeah.
making sure like they deliver on their commitments on time and helping them get to
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Super interesting. Wow, Gahi, you've been doing some really cool stuff since we last spoke.
Yeah, it's been I upgraded my life a bit.
I like that. I like that. I really dig that. Because I
Yeah.
remember the last time we spoke, you were in France and it was COVID, it was lockdown, and you were not that happy with being in France. And you were kind of like, I kind of want to get out of here.
Yeah. Because in France, I was an English teacher. Like, I was working at public schools teaching English and stuff. And it was sorry, mosquito. It was the Mairie de Paris, the Paris government, I guess, that hired me, and I was a floating teacher. So I instead of being in one school and being like a full English teacher there, I was going to schools like maybe two or three
Mm,
schools a day and being moved around. But it was still like a full position at that school, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But
Okay.
COVID hit, it was kind of a little bit, yeah.
I guess you had to stop doing that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I also went into some health problems unrelated to COVID. But yeah, I'm good now and I'm way healthier. And would I say I'm happier? I don't know because I'm working in Korea. Um, but yeah, I would say overall, I'm pretty happy. But yeah, working in Korea is not for the faint-hearted.
Okay, maybe I'll get to try it someday. Let's
I
see.
mean, if you come in as an expat, like for example, Samsung hires you as an expat, then I feel like they wouldn't expect you to work like a Korean. But since I'm hired as a foreigner in Korea and they know my mom's Korean.
Hmm. So you get the worst of both worlds a little bit. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can treat her like shit because she's half Korean and she kind of understands the culture around that, but also we're gonna make her feel bad for being half
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Korean.
Absolutely. So like they pick and choose whether I'm Korean or French uh when it suits them.
That sounds so shitty.
So it's really shit. So when I'm trying to think of like an example, but like I was basically saying like, "Oh, I'm not used to working like this." They're like, "Yeah, but you're half Korean, you should know." And I was like, "Yeah, but like this process doesn't make sense."
Yeah, super weird.
Or yeah. And I think like the thing I really dislike the most is the fact that so in Korea there's this thing called konde, and you can look this word up on even Wikipedia, and it's it apparently it comes from the word comte, which is the count, like the noble count guy in France, and it's basically a very hierarchical dude who tells you what to do, or like you have to follow his rules or else. And yeah, so very annoying.
Yeah.
But also like in both companies that I've worked at so far,
Wait, so
they
there's a
don't pay you
role at
overtime.
the company of someone who tells you how to follow rules?
No, no, no. These are it's like a personality trait of
Oh,
of a coworker. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And every company kind of has a gunde.
A conde. Yeah. Like I
Conde.
mean it's just it's actually you well from what I've seen and from what I hear from other people, the conde age is between the age of 35 and up. And people who are kind of our age hate condes and we don't listen to them. We don't really like vibe with them.
Yeah.
But I guess like the benefit about me being French is I get to not care that much compared to other Korean
Right,
people.
okay. And
Like,
you get a bit of a
yeah.
pass on that because you're like, I'm
Yeah.
half French.
Like, for example, like, the video you shared on of that girl who's like, oh, my boss made me work for like until 11 p.m. Like, honestly, I've never actually seen that. There were times where I did have to work till 11, but that was because an important project needed to be finished right now. And the deadline was so close, or we were about to like lose this really important investment or something like that. So, yeah, I've never actually had to work that late all the time. Yeah. And like there are laws in Korea, like I know my company, the company I'm working at now, like they I mean, there are employees who work past 5 p.m. a lot, and they're stressed and all that. And so their wives snitch on the company to the government.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is so
And so,
interesting.
yeah, it's quite funny. So, like, the actual employee doesn't say anything, but their wives are like, hey, he doesn't come home. Uh, he comes
Yeah.
home exhausted and stressed.
Is there like a
Yes.
government hotline for this?
Yeah. Not even a hotline. Like, you just put it online and then they just do an audit. And then they're like, show us your
Whoa.
employee, like check-ins and checkouts. Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. And then, like, I guess there's like also, like warnings. So, like, when you do it once, like, okay, warning one, warning two, and then three, you get like really high fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've actually seen the Korean government do their, like, I mean, as a French girl, I know how the French government works, and they don't move. Like I think most
Yeah. It's
European,
similar in
uh,
Germany. Yeah.
yeah, like they're like okay, okay, and then nothing ever happens. But like in Korea, I've actually so when I was working at this startup, I was working alongside another company. Like we were all in this like lab kind of like where loads of different startups are there, and I saw this one girl who was um I don't want to say harassed. I mean, I don't want to say bullied. I would say harassed actually, because it was not good. Her situation was pretty bad, and like she filed a complaint with the government, and this company that she was working for was actually a subsidiary kind of the government, and the people involved were basically in the most nicest terms fucked. Yeah, they were not yeah, they cannot get a job anywhere else. So their only choice is to stay in the company, but the company downgraded them to the point where they're earning like minimum wage, and they were they were like managerial positions. So as you can imagine, going from like manager being a conde to everyone, being like, "Oh, you're so stupid when you don't do the right work," blah 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 blah, and insulting them, and then like, "You have to do my work too," and then all of a sudden um being an entry level all over again, and you have a family to feed, you have debt, you have yeah. Uh, By the way, I don't know if you know this, but Korea has crazy debt, like
Really?
personal debt.
I have heard about
Yeah.
it a little bit, but I need to dig into it deeper. And this is like well known, and you meet people daily, and they're like, "I'm struggling with debt," or what's the
I mean,
situation there?
I think in Korea they won't actually say it to your face that they're struggling with debt because Korean people tend to have this certain pride and they don't like divulging much about themselves too
Is it,
privately.
mm, is it a culture of like saving face, like how it exists in China?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, 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 definitely. Like I would say almost on par with Japan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because like yeah, but then I'm gonna get roasted by Koreans for this, but like because they don't want to be compared to Japanese
Yeah,
people.
they hate it, right?
Yeah, so there are many times where like not someone who's in a managerial position, but someone who's just higher up than me would actually put their faults and blame me for their mistakes so that
So that they
and
can
and
save face.
yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I know it's not because I'm a foreigner or a girl. I've seen it happen to loads of other people in the company. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's just because you're underneath them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Super interesting. Okay. I did want to ask you more about Korea's demographic problem.
Oh yeah.
So, in in my opinion, this seems like the number one problem for South Korea, maybe next to North Korea, right? North Korea is like, okay, number one problem, they're trying to nuke us or whatever. That's
Yeah.
for sure number one. But number two is a close second, which is we are going extinct. What do you think about that statement?
Um, so I think a lot of the Korean people at my company, at least, they've seen that the Kyrgyzstan video
Okay,
of
cool.
like, I think they have seen it because after it came out, like maybe a week later, it got translated into Korean maybe, and they watched it, and they seemed quite worried, but none of them were like, yeah, we need to pop babies out. Like a lot of them are married, but a lot of them also don't have kids. So I thought that
So
was quite
interesting.
interesting. Yeah. They're like, oh no, this is horrible. Anyway,
Back to daily life. Let's go.
yeah. And I think, yeah, so from the friends that I've had, um, even my friends from the previous company, like I kept in touch with them. We're pretty good friends. And like they understand the importance of having a child, whether it be from like societal pressures or literal national pressure. But for example, my friend, she said that she does not really want to have a child because it would ruin her chances of coming back into the workforce. And also, she's quite old. She's not old. She's like 30. She's 33 maybe. And I wouldn't consider that old personally, but she's about to get married, doesn't have a child, and in Korean people's eyes, that's quite old. But yeah, we I spoke to her about it, and she said she doesn't really want to have children because, first of all, schools are so expensive. Like there's really no incentive to have children just because after you birth them, they're sent straight to a preschool that holds them for the the parents' employment duration, their daily duration, and then those kids afterwards are usually sent to these things called hagwons, which are like after school schools or cram schools. Maybe they're too young for cram schools, but like you have you have I'm currently teaching English as well to like privately, and this poor girl, not even 9 years old, 8 years old. After school, she has 1 hour of English lessons. Then she has some kind of trampoline exercising thing, and then she has math, and then the next day she has math, she has science. These are all after school, and it's because parents want their kids to be competitive enough to be able to go to a better elementary school, to go to a better middle school, and then when they get to high school, they have to think about going to one of the top universities in Korea. Otherwise, you don't matter.
Yeah. Okay. So like if you want to join one of these chaebol companies and have a good position, you need to
Hmm.
have a great university degree, and if you don't, you're probably just doomed to be a
Yeah.
barista forever or
Well,
something.
or you would join companies like mine. Yeah. Or like, but there are some pretty good avenues. Like I have a friend who works for SK Hynix, which is the semiconductor company that is competing against Samsung.
Mm.
And he didn't go to like a full-on 4-year university. He went to a vocational university and basically trained for that, and then he had to go through interviews. Although I heard that the interviews for vocational university students are a lot more scrutinized than that of people who went to the top universities in Korea.
Interesting. So, are people not talking about this like every day?
No,
Like, okay.
no.
And like, okay, so if you were to ask the average Korean, where do you think Korea will be in 20 years? Do you think that they would be like, yeah, we would have population collapse and probably economic collapse and probably it'll be terrible? Or do you think they would just be like, life is going to go on like
Yeah, it's
normal?
more the latter. More the latter. Like, I've spoken to a couple of people and they've said that they're like, "Oh yeah, I think we'll still be here in like 10 years. Like, I don't really see that big of a deal." Like, okay, yeah, we need to bring up our population, but
Yeah. This whole thing rings with a bit of like a climate change 1980 vibe to me. Where like in the 1980s and then 90s, people were like, the climate's getting hotter, and then for a couple of decades, you had most people being like, yeah, I guess this is a problem, but whatever, like I don't really
yeah.
care. And I feel like only over the last 10 years, you've had people in our age and younger who've started to be very personally active with fixing the problem. So, like, I'm going to go vegetarian or vegan, or I'm going to only drive
Uh,
electric. I know people who don't even fly planes. They're like, no, I will spend 2 days in a train just so that I don't cause an. I don't do that. I take planes.
you're about to be judged.
Yeah. But,
Um,
yeah. In
I
Korea, I
think
get the sense it's a bit like this, but the thing is, if they wait 20 years for the next generation to really feel this problem out, it's too late already.
I think like the whole population decline thing, it's like a culmination. I've thought about this a lot and I talked to my mom about it a lot as well. And I think that it's a culmination of so many things. Like it's not just like, oh, we have to change this part of our culture. I'm like, no, you have to do a complete 180 on your entire culture, be it the work culture, be it the school culture, be it the health culture, be it everything. Like, um, I think there was an article that came out that said that average Korean people from in their 20s and 30s, their debt is 2 years of their salary. So,
Jeez.
yeah. And Korean salary is not that high, especially if you compare it to like Europe. Whereas like an entry level would be earning around 27-ish K.
Like in euros, in dollars?
Yeah, in euros.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, a little bit lower than Europe for entry
No,
level.
no, 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 no. Like Korea's lower than that.
Oh,
That's
it's
what I'm
lower.
trying
Oh,
to
you're saying
say.
in Europe it would be
Yeah,
around 27. And where's
yeah,
Korea at in dollar or euro terms?
So Korea, I think they earn the minimum, like a full-time employee, uh, university educated, earns the minimum wage in France.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is so interesting because I think average per capita GDP in Korea is
Mm-hmm.
actually close-ish to some European countries. Not the wealthier ones
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Germany and stuff, but it's like I forget what the exact number is, 30, $40,000. It's somewhere
Mm-hmm.
in that sort of range. Now in Europe, what the average per capita GDP means is that roughly entry level will be somewhat close to that because it's a
Yeah,
somewhat
no.
equal
Yeah.
society. Whereas in Korea, even though the average is like $30,000-$40,000 a year, I guess that's heavily skewed for like the top earners at big
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah, like wait, let me just check how much, because I keep getting confused with the number of there's a Korean counting system. Like, in India, it's like lakh, crore,
Yeah.
and yeah, Korea has that own thing too.
Oh gosh, I hate that in India. I hate lakhs and crores. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's older and we like invented the decimal system and shit, whatever. But can we just start using millions? Can we just start using thousand, million, and billion already?
Yeah, like I would very much prefer that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, so my friend who works at SK Hynix, he's been working there since he was I think 23 or something, and since he's working at a SK Hynix, one of the biggest companies in Korea, he's already earning like 60 something euros, 60 something thousand euros,
Okay, so
which
he's doing
is
really
which
well.
is yeah, he's doing really well in Korean standards too. Like he's 26 now, and can you imagine like the
Yeah.
amount he saved up and stuff? And also those companies, the big ones, they give really good bonuses. So he's really living the life. Yeah, and like also another thing that kind of made me very like sad for Korean people is a lot of people say that they don't really want to send their kids to Korean school, but they can't afford sending their kids to like $1,000 a month international school either. I'm sure it's more actually, but like they can't afford that. And it's simply because the Korean school culture is actually terrible.
And they're all aware of that.
Yeah, yeah. They all lived it. They all experienced it in one way or another, either being a witness or being the victim itself of like the crazy bullying. Like it's
I know
actually,
about this.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched two Korean TV shows lately that the
Mhm.
whole theme of the show is pretty much about the bullying culture in Korea.
Mhm.
So one of them was called DP. It's about
Mhm.
I forget what DP stands for, but it's essentially I think it's like something to do with military police. And what they
Mhm.
do is when people desert the military due to bullying, because
Yeah.
even in their forced military service, the conscription, a lot of the junior people get bullied by the senior people.
Yeah.
And they desert the military. So this DP is a team that goes to find these people once they've
Oh,
deserted
right,
and
right,
see what
right.
they're up to.
Yeah.
And it's most episodes are quite tragic because you learn about the story of the person who got bullied
Mhm.
and they either bring them back or the person will like commit suicide because they're like, I would rather die than go back to
Yeah.
the military. And I saw another show about this recently. Ah, yes, it was a high school show. Um, I forget what the name was, but it's essentially about this kid. I'll post the name here later. It's about this kid who he gets bullied in high school,
Mhm.
and he essentially just goes full psycho and starts beating the shit out of all the bullies. Also a fun show, and then he goes around saving other kids from being bullied and
Oh,
stuff like
okay.
that. It
Yeah,
was
that's
pretty
actually
interesting.
quite. I have one in the same realms of the whole bullying thing. It's called Angry Mom.
Mm.
And
Ah,
honestly,
yeah.
I personally really enjoyed it because probably because I have a bias and I really like the main actress, but it's about this girl who is bullied by other students like via Kakao Talk, which is um like the Western world's WhatsApp, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, and she tries to commit suicide, and so her mom is like fuck all this shit. And so the mom pretends to be a high schooler, joins that school, and like digs up all the dirt on that school. And yeah, it's pretty wild. And it shows you like kind of like obviously it's not 100% of a real story, but it's not like it doesn't exist, kind of. Like
Yeah.
there are politicians who are pedo-y and who abuse children, and there are children who want money who will gladly sell themselves for lots of money.
Yeah, that is wild. Yeah, I even remember when we went to high school together. I used to occasionally hang out with the Korean groups in the high school. I don't know how
Yeah.
close you were to them, but there is such, even from like a very young age. I think my first interactions with like groups of Koreans where I would hang out with groups
Hmm.
was maybe from like the eighth grade, seventh or eighth grade. And even from that age, there's such a hierarchy in these groups. It's like
Yeah.
the oldest person essentially is the boss, and they
Yeah.
tell the younger kids what to do. And there's quite a high degree of violence applied in this hierarchy as well. They'll just be
Yeah.
like slapping each other, beating, especially like the older kids would be slapping the younger kids, right? And be like, get
Yeah.
me a juice. And the younger kids would be
Yeah.
like, I don't want to. And then be like, they'd kick their ass until they got it to them, essentially.
Yeah. Actually, that you may bring up a pretty good point, but also like the people who come who I think who end up in India, they're either there because their parents work there, or two, they got kicked out of school in Korea and they have nowhere
Okay.
else to go.
So these
And
might
their
have been
parents,
biased towards being like delinquents, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. Like there are quite a few people that were in that school, in our school, that were kicked out of school in Korea, and no school would accept them. So their parents were like, "Okay, you need a boot camp kind of thing. Your life has been too privileged. Go to India, but go to a privileged international school."
Yeah. I guess in their minds it was just like, okay, I don't want them to like, die.
Suffer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it really one thing that really broke my heart was there was this boy who was in the boarding school area, and he was 12 years old, and he was getting beat up by kids who were like 16, 17, 18. And it just really broke my heart because not only did he like have to endure the physical things, but like they would also force him to speak in the highest form of politeness, like the most honorary way of speaking in Korea. And I was like, bro, he's 12, and also you haven't done much in your life that warrants you to even have this kind of high, like grandiose treatment.
Yeah.
And so I got into a couple of arguments with people because of that.
I think I remember one of the, I mean, not in detail, but I think I remember you
Yeah.
having a bad day and it being related to Korean bullying
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, because I was actually defending someone because of that. And and I asked the 12-year-old like why he was still associating himself with it, and he was just like, "Oh, because they're Korean and stuff."
Yeah. I've
And
noticed that. There's a very tight knit community
yeah,
where, like, there seems to be a barrier to just leaving. It's also because I find that Koreans,
there's also a barrier
most,
to entry.
yeah, 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 true. There's also a barrier to entry. I find that most Koreans, like, Korean culture is so specific to
Hmm.
Korea. Like, for example, when I meet French or Germans or Spanish or Indians, even for that matter, there are specificities to the culture, but people can generally kind of like get along with folks from other cultures and also
Hmm.
communicate with folks from other cultures because I don't know if it's because all of the ones that I just mentioned are like Indo-European languages and linguistically there's a little bit of like an overlap between them in that way. But with Korea, I find that I notice this even when I watch Korean shows. The way of speaking and the tonality is so
Mm.
unique to Korea, and it just doesn't translate well to any other language that I've seen. Like for example, there's this there's this archetype of the girl who is a bit whiny, right? And I've noticed this especially with like younger girls who speak with older guys in a lot of
Yeah.
these shows and stuff, and even in our high school, be like, ah 뭐야,
Mm,
언니,
yeah.
and like there's a
Yeah,
lot of
there's a little
sing-songiness to
wine.
it. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of a whine, but that also conveys context and meaning and stuff like that, right? Where even just in that whine, there's a little bit of like a look, you're someone elder to me and you're supposed to protect me in
Hmm.
some way. There's all kinds of nuance to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And that kind of applies every which way, like older, younger, boy, girl,
Hmm.
parent, child, boss, employee, whatever it is. And yeah, I don't know if Koreans are able to leave that mode of communication that easily without feeling like stiff, if that makes sense.
I mean, there are girls that I do like Korean girls that I know that actually highly and fully reject the whole whiny thing. And yeah, like they refuse to be anywhere near that, refuse to be anywhere close to that for themselves. And but those girls that I've met are typically girls who are very, very career driven, and they had reached quite a high managerial position at quite a young age.
Okay,
So I think it
quick
has, but
question.
like that's sorry.
So,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
No,
So,
no.
about the whiny part, I'm totally with you. There are people who probably reject it entirely and they're like, I don't do this.
Hmm.
But that's just one of these super hyper specific things. There's other things.
Yeah.
There's also the way
I mean,
people use their eyes.
I think I do it to my mom.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's cute. I think it's really nice. I wish I could do that. It just seems like a really cute relationship to have. um, but there's also other stuff. There's also a very specific culture around eyes in Korea.
Like having
Um,
bigger eyes?
no, sorry, I lost you for a sec. Your video's frozen. I don't know where it's gone.
Oh,
Oh, it's back. Okay, awesome.
okay.
Yeah, okay. So on one level, there's like eye contact and what it means. I do know that to some extent, between like younger and older, there's
Uh-huh.
the expectation that younger, especially like submissive roles,
Yeah, you're
don't
not allowed to
look
look up.
directly in people's eyes,
Yeah.
right? So there's that. There's a little bit of like eye contact is considered
Rude.
rude-ish.
Yeah.
Whereas in most other cultures, like say between Indians or Europeans or wherever else,
If you don't
looking at
look at them,
people
it's
is
rude.
like, yeah, exactly. You don't look at them as rude. So that's one of these hyper specific Korean things. Maybe it applies to a lesser degree in like other East Asian countries. But it's also like when someone is scolding someone else, their eyes become
Hmm.
bigger. I wouldn't be able to use the exact language because I don't speak Korean well, but it's for example like da 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 da, like, and you're kind of like talking
Oh,
down ish
yeah,
to
yeah,
someone, and you're like, yo, use a bitch or whatever, right? And you're
yeah.
like making big eyes to them. And there's also a specific tone of voice that gets used like that. And
Yeah,
like for
for
all of
sure.
these very specific scenarios, there's like a hyper specific Korean way of communicating in those scenarios.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I get the feeling that at least the Koreans who I've met in Germany,
Hmm.
I sometimes look at them and feel, maybe correctly, maybe incorrectly, that they feel a bit out of place in that they've come up their whole lives with this very hyper specific culture, and it also gives people a sense of belonging. And I wish I could do it. Like one of the reasons I would learn Korean if the population wasn't going extinct is that I could also participate in this, and it's a very unique way of communicating as humans. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I have met Korean people who are 100% able to assimilate. And I think those Korean people tend to not flock with other Korean people. They tend to like really stray far away from other Koreans. And like this was in whether it's in Paris or in London or Um, where I can't think of anywhere else. Yeah, or in the Philippines, for example. Like, but then you have like the majority of people who stick together. And I think after you're in a group for so long, I think there's like this mental thing that happens where like, oh, I'm not the problem. Everyone else is the problem for not accepting me, kind of thing. And yeah, I thought that was I that's kind of one thing I do dislike about Koreans who live abroad. Like they're very impersonable.
I've
Not
noticed that. I've
yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah,
Tell me
even when we
more.
went
Tell
to
me more.
school, like how hard was it for you to actually be one with another Korean kid? And then maybe you did become friends with them on like a personal level one to one, but once they were with their group, you were
Yeah.
fully ignored.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, part of that I think is a linguistic thing, but part of it is all this other cultural stuff, right? That's like I wasn't
Well,
really able to gel with the K vibe, if you know what I mean.
yeah, but I feel like, when you're a foreigner, like as a Korean, if you're a foreigner in another country, like shouldn't you make that effort to actually try to like blend in, especially in like an international Canadian school? There's no real one culture. Like you can assimilate very, very easily, in my opinion. And this has been my experience in almost all international schools all over the world. Korean people have always stuck together, and their English is probably by far the worst. But the ones who really stray away from other Koreans, their English is freaking impeccable. They understand Western jokes. They don't get offended, and yeah, I think they truly rejected the Korean way of life.
Yeah. What do you think it is that's kind of keeping Korea so stuck
I
culturally?
think
And
I think it's a historical thing. Like historically speaking, and this is something my mom has like brought up quite often is Korea has been like overtaken over and over again by China and Japan throughout all of history. Yet Koreans were able to maintain and keep their history for so long. And that was because they always banded together, grouped together, and stayed together. And so my mom thinks that's probably the main reason why. And it's probably just embedded into Korean people. But actually,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
another interesting thing, like my friend who is Korean, she went to Australia. She went there alone. I would say very courageous. She's never been abroad before, but she was like, I'm doing this. And she was working at a farm or something. And there she met another Japanese person. And they became the best of friends. Although maybe they weren't supposed to be friends or whatnot, however other people want to look at it. But the reason why they became friends was genuinely because there is overlap between
Yeah.
Korean and Japanese culture, and that's just undeniable. And their
Yeah.
English probably sucked, but they were at the same level of suckiness.
Yeah. Yeah, there is definitely a big overlap. I find that there's some overlap, but less so also with China and the
Hmm.
other two, China
Yeah.
between Korea and Japan. Yeah, I guess part of it is geographic. Korea's kind of like isolated from the rest of, it's
Hmm.
got ocean or seas on all sides, and then to the north, there's mountains where North Korea is, right? Like
Yeah.
to the north of North Korea, and a big
Like this
river or
sound.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, super interesting. And
So yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, no, go
No,
ahead.
no.
What were you
Go
gonna
ahead.
say?
Yeah, I feel like that's like the Korean sticking together thing. I think it's genuinely super just ingrained in their blood to like not go out too far.
Yeah, yeah. I think I kind of relate to it in some way because you do see this with a lot of Indian communities,
Hmm.
especially with like Malayalis from the
Hmm.
southwest in Kerala. They will hang out with other Indians as a second preference if they're abroad. But if they
Hmm.
find another group of Malayalis, it's like, bam,
Yeah,
these are my
instantly
peeps.
best
Yeah,
friends.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think this is one of the reasons that Korea is unable or mostly unwilling to use immigration to fix its demographic problem, because it's so tight knit and so Korean. Because they
Well,
could. Mm,
in the company I'm working at right now, there are a lot. I mean, by a lot, I mean like I think majority of the factory workers are foreigners, whether they're Filipino, Vietnamese, or Uzbek. Yeah. So there are a lot of foreigners, but the Koreans don't allow them to assimilate into their group. So what ends up happening is they end up hanging out with only Uzbekistan people or only Vietnamese people. And so you have
mm,
this whole culture of segregating yourselves
yeah.
within Korea.
This is pretty much a caste system.
Yeah.
Like if you go to India 3,000 years ago, this is essentially how the caste system was formed. You had people migrating into India, and folks who were already there were like, well, we really love our own culture and we're going to keep it tight knit. So
Hmm.
you guys do your own shit and keep your own culture and only, marry people from within your own caste. And
Uh-huh.
you fast forward that 3,000 years, and with income differences and education differences and stuff, you end up getting
Yeah.
what it looks like today.
But I think like Korea's maybe doing it a little bit differently, whereas they are allowing foreigners to get educated if they so choose to. I don't believe it is subsidized, but their governments tend to subsidize their education. And but like for example, you bring up a good point with the caste system, like foreigners coming in, you marry your into your own. But I feel like, the Western culture like that I mean that I've experienced, they tend to, while they still really appreciate their own culture and they want to like make sure it stays alive, like there's no, I mean there probably was at some point, but like right now there's no real discrimination if you married like someone who wasn't even in the same religion or even the same color or race. Probably shouldn't have said color. Yeah, so I feel like there's that because like in Korea, if you marry someone outside of your Korean race, that's a no-no.
Yeah,
Like,
which is such a similar to India aspect of Korean culture.
yeah,
You
like
know,
if
in some ways, I kind of relate to and maybe even respect it if they were able to keep their population up, which they're not. But so in most Indian communities, there's such a respect for the culture of the community and a
hmm.
belief in the community that this is good and this is something good to perpetuate over multiple generations, and that's essentially why castes exist.
Mm.
And I see that in Koreans as well. I see that Koreans also believe that, their culture is a good one. It's worth preserving. It's
Hmm.
worth passing down, and it's worth keeping it in the Korean, I don't want to say
Hmm.
bloodline, but like essentially that's what it is, right?
Yes.
More or less. Which is not really the case, or less so the case, with Japan or China. Because I've met a lot of people from Japan or China. In Japan, to some extent, it is true.
Mm.
In China, to a lesser extent, it is true. And all over the world, to some extent, it's true. But in those countries, I also meet loads of people, especially women who want to outmarry. Especially
Oh,
women
yeah,
who
yeah.
want to marry white guys, specifically. I mean, it sounds weird to say, but it's true, right? I've met a lot
It's
of
true.
Japanese women, a lot of Chinese women who will move abroad for the sole purpose of being like, I want to find a white man and live a good life. And I'm like, okay, you do you, but you barely get this with Indians, right? With Indians, it's
Yeah.
very uncommon. No matter what, most Indians and most Indian parents will be like, yeah, yeah, all said and done, get a good job, move to another country, but you're gonna marry either
Yeah.
an Indian or, in some cases, even more specifically, you're gonna marry like someone from your caste, or even
Yeah.
more specifically, you're gonna marry your second cousin or whatever.
Yeah, like in China, like I feel like there's a reason for it because of the one child policy and like also I feel like in China, Korea, and Japan, like there's a common thing that people really believe in, and it's half white babies are very pretty or cute, and they grow up to be either very handsome or very beautiful. Um,
Nice. You struck the money with that one.
I don't know if I got the good genes. That's what I'm wondering. I think my brother got the good ones. Because he's tall, he's very handsome, like in a non incest, in an objectively.
You only made it weird when you said that. Until then, it was
I know,
fine.
I'm sorry. It's after you said the marry your cousin thing.
It's just true. A lot of Indian
Okay,
parents will be like,
I
"Here's
know,
your
but I
second
got.
cousin Raju, and we want to keep the land in the family, so let's go. Let's make this thing happen."
Yeah, but I felt like I needed to ensure that people knew it was not incesty.
Okay.
Don't give that.
I hope they'll understand.
Yeah, and honestly, like the feedback that I've gotten, especially if my brother's in Korea standing next to me, everyone says, "Wow, he's so handsome. He's so wow, look at he's so tall. He's so strong." And I'm just there like very short, maybe a little bit chubby to Korean standards, and I have curly hair, and that is not appreciated apparently. So I don't think I've hit the jackpot in terms of what Korean people espouse to be ideal in terms of physical aspects, but my brother certainly has, and they can immediately tell like, oh, he's half. They look at me and they're like, "Are you Uzbekistan?"
Oh shit.
And I was like, ah, I mean, I get why you would say that because that isn't Eurasian, yes.
Yeah, I
But
guess so.
yeah.
Geographically, if you go halfway between like Korea and Germany or France, you kind of get
Yeah.
Uzbekistan more or less.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, that does make sense. I mean, it does look like I come from the Altai Mountains. Yeah, but yeah, going back to women marrying outside of their race and stuff. I think in Japan, they kind of don't have like a culture of from society of hating on foreigners. Like growing up with one like a common like a not a common but like a it is a common story, but like my mom would tell me quite often about what happened when she met my dad and when my dad and her got married. My Korean side of the family disowned her, like completely disowned her, and it was only after me and my brother were born that they grew curious enough and wanted to see grandchildren that they
Yeah,
allowed my mom to come back.
it's the grandchildren that really change the
Yeah.
equation there. A similar thing happened with my parents. They married from
Oh,
two different castes and two different religions
yeah.
even, and my dad's parents disowned him for some time. I mean, they were kind of in touch, but it was not pretty. And they,
Yeah.
for some time, kind of just pretended like my mom didn't exist. They were just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, how are you doing living alone there in Dubai?" or whatever. Yeah, and now these days it's become less common for it to be like that between castes or communities
Hmm.
within India, though it's still prevalent for sure.
Yeah. I
But
I mean, I still remember seeing that when we were there.
yeah, and now what's more common is for Indian parents to be that with Indians versus non-Indians, right? Like,
Yeah.
including my parents. I dated a Japanese person for some time,
Oh no.
and we were pretty serious. And my parents were essentially like, "Look, this happens, we're gonna disown you. We're just telling you." I don't think they would have done it, but they made it very expressly clear that they were unhappy with with that because again, I think most Indians and Koreans, as far as I can tell,
Mm-hmm.
have this like we have to preserve. Indians also believe by it. We also have to some extent certain traditions or cultural aspects that are considered highly valued or important in India.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything from like how you treat your parents to how you treat guests to the food that people eat to the music, the
Yeah.
classical
Mm-hmm.
music to whatever it is. And I think there's a strain of culture that's like we have to make sure this continues to be valued in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I find that with China, even though that they've taught their people to hate Western culture from the time that they're very young, right? There's this almost like everybody's out to get China, century of humiliation
Yeah.
vibe that's going on. Um, because of the, I think it's because of the Cultural Revolution that they kind of destroyed all of their culture or much of it, and they like
Yeah.
killed teachers and stuff. That today, I don't think Chinese people really care that much about culture. Like they seem to be very open to out marrying, to a just letting go of China or whatever it is. But I could be wrong. That could just be
Uh,
my interactions with Chinese people.
but I thought it was interesting that your parents went through the whole disowning thing, and
And
they
then
would
they
use
also
that
did
on
it.
you.
Yeah. They just did one level up, right? They were like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, we were disowned for intermarrying between castes. So now we're okay with that. But are you okay with international? No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not."
It was quite interesting because my mom, she doesn't actually, she never gave me shit about dating outside of, I mean, at the same time, what is my race?
Yeah, fair enough.
Like the only thing she really genuinely was like no to is very religious people. Like
Fair enough.
yeah,
Fair
that's
enough.
yeah, that's the only thing. Like whether they were too Christian, too Muslim, too whatever. Nah.
Yeah. I can vibe with that.
Yeah. And she's Buddhist. Like she's a religious Buddhist woman. So
Yeah. Which is pretty chill, all things
it's very
considered.
chill. Yeah.
Generally. So I'm just gonna really quickly look up um, how much net migration Korea has. I'm
I think
gonna
it's two
guess
percent.
like 2% of the population is immigrants.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that
Actually,
seems.
maybe lower. Maybe that was Japan. I don't remember now. You can look it up. Correct me.
Japan is around that much. You're right. Um, okay, it's about
Then
five
Korea.
percent of the total population is immigrants. But yeah, I feel like for where their demographics are, that's way too low.
But I think of that 5%, I think maybe 70% of the 5% is Chinese.
Ah, interesting. Why is
Yeah.
that?
Oh, well, because Chinese people who claim, some Chinese people, they can claim that they have Korean heritage.
Okay.
And so Korea has better healthcare system, has better living, I think. And also they get Korean, the Korean social benefits system is quite good compared to the non-existent one in China.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Okay, so you're telling me that even though these are like immigrants, they're kind of semi naturalized immigrants in that they claim some Korean ancestry
Yeah.
and can they like speak Korean decently usually or is it like not at all?
Oh, some of them do speak Korean really well. There's this place in Seoul and even I think Incheon. There's a place where like you will see no Korean people. It's just a group of Chinese people. And in the schools and stuff, maybe more than 60% are Chinese students who also can barely speak Korean, but that's why they're there. So,
Interesting.
yeah. And those people I think would tend to marry Chinese people too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very rarely see like Uzbekistan people marrying a Korean, and when you do see it, it looks very uh what's the nice way to say this?
Weird.
Yeah, it looks more like a transactional marriage more than anything.
Ah, okay. Is it usually Uzbek women marrying Korean men, and it's for like
Yeah.
money, you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Like especially in the countryside and stuff. And also Uzbeki women are considered very beautiful even in Korea. Like they have some Asian features, but like the features that the Koreans like big eyes, dark
Mm,
eyebrows, those kind of things are uh like they have those. But it's really sad because like at least the ones I've seen, those women end up marrying like quite old farmer men
right,
who
yeah.
weren't, yeah, who either
Yeah,
weren't
that
able to get married or something. Yeah.
it does give a bit of a transactional vibe. And I see that a lot with Southeast Asians marrying white people as well. I see a lot of like
Mm,
young
yeah.
Thai, Filipino, not so much Vietnamese. I think Vietnamese kind of have their own thing going on, but Thai, Filipino, Cambodian, Laotian, I'll often see like 65-year-old white men plus
Yeah.
with like 25-year-old or 35-year-old Southeast Asian women.
Yeah.
And I
I
always look
mean,
at that and I'm like, what kind of relationship do they have? Like, do they can okay, sure, it starts off somewhat transactional, but can they make a loving relationship out of it, or is it always like, yo, look, this
hurry
is the
up.
deal? Yeah, exactly.
Kick the bucket soon, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at first quite transactional, I would say. And then I think like just like any arranged marriage, like over time they do end up having like feelings for each other and stuff. But I think at the core, they're waiting for the bag at the end.
Yeah, everybody knows what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you heard of the Pattaya Flying Club?
Pattaya Flying Club.
Yeah.
Is that
So
like a
I was in
what you call it, passport bros?
no, it's so I was in Thailand last year, and a friend of mine who lives there a lot of the time was telling me that a lot of older white guys, they end up falling off balconies of apartments. And they call that the Pattaya Flying Club because what happens is these old white guys, they go to Thailand, young Thai women will
Mm-hmm.
like convince them that they love them and they get married and they actually sign papers and stuff so that
And then they
the
push them off the fucking
and they push them off the
balcony.
balconies to get all their money and stuff. I don't know how true it is, so probably worth verifying, but the fact that there is a stereotype around it, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's been at least a few cases.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty fun.
Like, cause I was gonna say, like, these women who like end up marrying, like, a 25-year-old woman ending up marrying like even a 60, 70-year-old man. Like, they're just like, okay, I'm waiting for the bag. Like, by the time that dude dies in like 20 years or something, they're already 40 something. They're not attractive to the general public anymore.
Yeah. But I guess by then they're like, look, I lived a good life for the last 20 years and now I can continue to live a good life because of the
Hmm.
things that were passed down to me. So, yeah,
But I think they'll still like being 40, that's not old at all, right?
that's
Like
true. Yeah. We're going
you're
to be there in like
considered
10
kind of
years.
like, yeah, you're considered like a mom age, you
Yeah.
know? And like who is she gonna like live the rest of her remaining 40 years, you know?
Yeah. That's when you remarry an 80-year-old at that
Yeah, but
point.
they don't they 80-year-olds don't want to marry a 40-year-old. They want a 20-year-old.
Depends how nasty the 80-year-old is.
I mean, if he can get a 40, he can definitely get another 25-year-old girl, you
Could
know?
be. But maybe the threshold for how much material wealth he has to offer to get a 25-year-old is much higher than what he has to offer to get a 45-year-old
Uh,
who already kind of has some assets because her husband died. So now she's just looking for companionship,
I was gonna
you
say
know?
the 40-year-old woman at that point, she would go and try to get a younger dude,
Could be. It could be.
you know?
They go into their
Yeah.
cougar phase.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. And like, even the dude is like, oh, she's like a mommy, you know?
Yeah. Sounds pretty nice.
You're like, that life? He's like, 40-year-old woman. It doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, sounds pretty nice actually. Make me a nice pad thai every morning, you know?
for sure. I mean, I don't want to think about that. I'm reaching that age in less than like 10 years.
Oh
Help.
no.
Help me. I don't want to be like that.
All right.
I didn't even have an old husband to watch die, you know?
Damn. You gotta get on that. You should come visit in Berlin. I'm sure we could find you a nice, nice 65-year-old.
I feel like I couldn't not trying to be mean or anything, but like I feel like German people are so unfunny.
Oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like I
Um,
feel like I would die before the old man
yeah.
in
They are the
unnatural
most
ways.
serious people who I've met. Yeah. They do have like a sense of humor, but it's a very peculiar one.
Try.
Yeah. It's a very peculiar one, like where they do like dark humor and stuff sometimes, but that's not like haha funny humor. You know what I mean? It's more like
It's like,
you tell a
ooh,
dark joke and
yeah.
people are like, ooh, not good one. But I rarely see Germans like cracking jokes regularly with each other,
Mm.
you know?
I
But
wonder
yeah.
why that is.
I have a feeling it's partly to do with the language. They have a very weird language where you only know what they were talking about at the end of the sentence. Like the
So you can't even like build up.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
to just like
exactly. You just
wait.
wait, and then at the end, the verb comes at the end, right? So you're like da 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 ate, and then you're like ach so. So that's pretty much what they're like out here. I was even doing stand up comedy for a while here in
Oh yeah,
Berlin,
I saw. Yeah.
and it's really interesting because in most countries the stand up comedy is very localized.
Mhm.
So it's mostly local people who are doing it, and then you also have an expat community. But in Germany, probably because it's Germany, they the stand-up community here is dominated by expats and internationals, and there's a very tiny, if non-existent German one. So yeah, I think that's more evidence for that. They're just not
Yeah.
that funny
Yeah.
out here.
But the fact that like so many of like expats do come to Germany to do these shows, I feel like that means that Germans are craving some form of humor that their
Yeah.
society can't offer.
I'm kind of lucky that I live in Berlin and that it's so internationalized, and even the
Mm,
Germans here are kind of like very out there. I do have occasional weird interactions with Germans where I'm like,
like
okay, yep, they're German. Like, like for example, you don't put something in exactly the right for the perfect place where it's supposed to be, and then you'll have someone be like, "Oh, that is not supposed to be there. It is supposed to be there." And the thing is, they're not trying to be dicks. There is really a culture here in Germany where they feel like if somebody else doesn't know what the rule is, I am
yeah.
doing a service to them by informing them of the rule, right? So when they see stuff happening that's kind of like, even if it's just there's no cars on the road and someone crosses the road,
Yeah.
it's not unheard of that you'd have a German being like, oh, actually, the light is red, so you must not cross the road when the light is red. It's like, dude, that person knew that for sure before they made that decision.
I mean, I had a similar experience in Japan.
Japanese people also have a bit of this like rules
Yeah.
obsessed culture, right?
Same thing with crossing the road. Dead of the night, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. There's literally no cars. It's not even like a huge intersection or anything. It's just like a one tiny little alleyway road that does have like a what do you call that? A pedestrian light thing. And I was so shocked, firstly, to see all of these people waiting a minute and a half when you can see if a car is coming. The car can see you if you're standing in the middle of the road because they have their headlights on.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm just like, there's no logical reason to stand in. It's raining. You can,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's
like there's
like I think
get
society
home
would
quicker.
forgive you for skipping this one.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I want to
And
ask these folks, like, because they take a lot of pride in the fact that they all follow the rules to the T,
yeah.
right? Like Japanese and Germans both. And I'm like, hmm, can we think of a situation where following the rules didn't turn out that well for the majority of society in your history?
Yeah.
You know, both of them, both Japan and Germany. It's like, was there ever a time where people asked you to do horrific shit and maybe you should have not done horrific shit and
Yeah.
followed the rules? Maybe this isn't such a good cultural trait after all. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and so like out of that group of people waiting at the fucking stoplight with no cars, no direction, I cross and then someone who I think was maybe Japanese, but he spoke English really well. He was like, "Hey, you can't cross." And I was like, "I already did. Call the cops or something. I don't know."
Yeah, yes. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'll get fined 1,000 yen. That is a price I'm willing to pay
Yeah, for the
for not
convenience of
standing
crossing
in
the
the
road.
rain.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I feel like we drifted off so much from the point
We
that we
did.
wanted
We
to,
did.
and
It's
we're
cool. It's cool. We're pretty
I'm
much done with
sorry.
the questions that I had. I have a couple
Oh, okay.
more.
Go shoot.
So, yeah, I guess where we drifted off was Korea. So I looked up the numbers, and Korea
Mhm.
has, what was it, 88,000 net migrants per year,
Mhm.
which for a country of 50 million people, which is facing the most severe demographic decline of any country on earth, is way too little. They need to be doing
Yeah.
like at least three times that much, if not five times that much, just to kind of maintain where they're at. So yeah, the immigration is not enough. And yeah, it's about 5% of the population that's immigrants. As you said, like most of them are probably Chinese who have some Korean
Mhm.
ancestry or something. So, do you think Korea would be able to handle, let's say, bringing in 1 million Indians per year, or Africans, or
No.
Southeast Asians?
Hell no. I'll tell you why. A simple answer. They don't like those cultures. Like straight up, they do not like them. I was actually having this conversation with my brother the other day. We like when he was in Korea, he remembered seeing an interaction between South Koreans, like regular Koreans, versus Korean Americans. And the South Koreans would despise the Korean Americans. Considering they're the same race, they just had a different upbringing. The South Korean people saw them as other.
That is wild.
Yeah. And it's just sad, you know? Because, and even for my mom, like when my mom lived abroad for what, 20 years or something, maybe less. She came back to Korea, people called her foreigner.
Damn. Was it because she kind of changed as a person a little bit, and people were like, "Why are you behaving so different?" Or
No, not even that. I feel like my mom is pretty spot on for any Korean. Like she might be a little bit like more chill in terms of like international marriage and stuff, but like otherwise, like in terms of like all the hierarchical stuff, she tells me this is just something you have to overcome. And I was like, there's no way I can overcome this hierarchical shit because I'm not gonna be on top. I will forever be below the people who are higher than me.
yeah, hopefully not forever, but
Yeah. Mm.
so okay, so Korea isn't solving it by people actually
No.
having kids. People aren't generally that aware of the magnitude of the problem. Even if they know that, okay, it's a problem, they're not like actually fixing it in real time. They're not
I
making
mean,
schools free. They're not like,
yeah. No, no, no.
wow,
Like I told, like I said before, like the tax break comes only after you have your third child.
okay. And
And people are like, eh,
is that tax
sorry.
break like a life changer, or is it just like, is this even really worth having three kids for?
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. Like, it's not, it's pretty good. It's pretty sweet from what I've heard. And also, like, you get discounts on pretty much a lot of stuff. Like, for example, like entry fees to, um, fuck, I missed the mosquito. Sorry. Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. I was doing so well. um, yeah, so they get like like very discounted prices for like entry fees for even parking,
Okay.
amusement parks, movie theaters,
It seems
those
a
kind of
little bit
things.
like when a company offers you pizza and telling you that you should be happy about
Yeah,
it. You know what I mean? It's like such
yeah, yeah,
small
yeah.
things that it's not actually going to make a meaningful financial difference in your life, but it's like, oh,
Yeah, so
here are the perks
yeah.
of working at this company. You get pizza once a month. It's like, dude, I don't care.
I can do that at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like that's from what I heard, because it's very rare to find people in Korea that have like more than 3 children. But yeah, and I think they get maybe I can't think of anything else. Like they get like cheaper parking at the airport.
Such a random
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so question to you: where was Korea 10 years ago? I mean, just like feeling wise, vibe wise, society and economy wise, your feeling. Where was Korea 10 years ago compared to today? Compared to what you imagine Korea in 10 years to be? Is there a trajectory that you're kind of seeing play out? Is there a trend?
Actually, I'm actually quite surprised by how Korea turned out from like 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, Korea was considered to be going on the up and up. Like everyone loved Korea. K-pop was on the rise. I don't even listen to K-pop, so I was a weird Korean, I guess. Um, but yeah, it seemed like Korea was going on an up and up. And then the more they opened up to the world, I think there was kind of something weird that happened because Korea, a very conservative country, right? The more they opened up to the Western world influenced South Korea, especially in the wokest ways. Like I'm gonna be real. I am no lefty.
Same here.
But
Let's
I'm
go.
yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Damn.
I abhor feminism. Men have an important role in society, and if you're trying so hard to be like a man, then why would you shit on being a man? Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, so Korea went from like so Korea right now, what it looks like to me at least, from a foreigner point of view, is you have Koreans who are still very conservative, and then you have like millennials that will they're called MZ generation, so millennials and Z, but you see that the Z and after they're they're so split. The men typically are quite conservative, and then the females are like full blown lefty woke heads. But like that happened in a span of less than 10 years, I would say, and it didn't even have like a gradual thing. It was like immediate overnight.
That is
Like I
crazy.
can't, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about why it has happened like this, right? Because this is only happening in some places. And my
Mm,
hunch, I could be totally wrong, let me know what you think, is that Korea, and I see this happening a little bit in Chinese big cities as well. Korea has kind of thrown everything at the wall in order to develop itself and in order to become, rich,
mm-hmm,
relatively rich like it is now. And in doing that, Korea has had to believe wholeheartedly in the Western world, the Western economic order, and kind of plug itself into it. Like, okay,
mm,
we're gonna do everything like to plug into this system. And I have a feeling like culturally, this has also opened a bit of a hole. Like economically, for sure, Korea is completely plugged into the U.S. Economic order of the world, and that's how all these companies have done so well. But
Yeah.
I have a feeling in doing
Um,
that, it has also inadvertently opened up its cultural space to American ideas. But I could be wrong. What do you think?
I agree to a certain extent, but I think it came with like taking the American or even Western materialistic values and then cranking it up to 1,000.
Yeah, because it's like,
Like,
look, if we want to get rich, we have to believe in these values, right? In looking good, in whatever, having the big eyes, whatever it is, the
mm,
materialism, owning designer things. And I've noticed this in Vietnam, I've noticed this in Thailand, Korea, and China. Right? All of these cultures that have a very, like, let's buy Louis Vuitton and Gucci bags sort of
yeah.
thing. But how do we do it better than the West? Like, if this is the status symbol, if it's to be materialistic and to buy luxury goods, we're not just gonna do it the way they do it. We're gonna do the shit out of it. We're gonna like,
Yeah.
you know, be the best at materialism.
So I don't know if it's they embrace the Western culture or anything like that. It's more like, oh, we're gonna make it our own. And in a sense, because Korea is technically quite a new country, I would say, like in terms of being after what it is after Japan and North Korea, like they had to I think they know that their culture doesn't mesh well with Western culture. And so they really tried to, and I think they try to pick and choose what they thought was good. And they, I think they still haven't figured out that Western countries, as they are now, have had time to actually become what they are now through downfalls, through civil wars, through revolutions, all of those things. And Korea didn't really have that. Like they had one in 1988, and that I would say that's kind of a fart.
Was
Like
that the year where they transitioned from being a military dictatorship to being more democratic?
yeah, I would say so, but like I would I think a lot of conservative Koreans would agree with me on this point. They don't see that dictatorship as bad. Like Bak Bak Jung-hee, he was considered quite a benevolent dictator. Like
Okay.
he wanted what was best for Korea. He was the powerhouse of the cell. he
Yeah,
he
fair enough.
was he was the powerhouse of developing South Korea.
Was he
Like
like a
he
bit of a
was
Lee Kuan Yew type character?
uh maybe a little bit different, I would say. Like a, a I don't know if this is true or not, but my mom's really into politics and she said that Putin is actually trying to base himself like Park Chung-hee. And yeah, was he a dictator? Sure, if you want to look at it like that, I would just say he's more of a authoritarian, not dictator. Cause he wasn't like Kim Jong Un, you know,
Yeah.
where he was like destroying his people.
He wasn't like
Like,
a tyrannical despot.
yeah, cause what he did was that was considered bad objectively, maybe, is he got rid of a lot of red tape so that companies could kickstart their business. He gave out loans quite
Mm.
easily.
So he kind of
And
set up the chaebol culture in
yeah,
Korea.
yeah, 100%. Like he actually picked and chose the people who were the starters for it. Like Samsung started off as a like a textile company.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think he picked a couple of these industrialists and he was like, okay, they're
Yeah.
currently doing this stuff, but we're going to make them go high tech. And they followed the Japanese style business model, which
Yeah.
it turns out for Japan and Korea and maybe for China is not going to turn out that well, but let's see. Okay, so if I were to ask you, where do you see Korea in 10 or 20 years? What would. Do you feel optimistic? Do you feel pessimistic? Do you feel like it'll kind of just be the same as it is now?
Um like given that Korea's political system doesn't change as it is right now, cuz right now the current president is uh very pro China. very pro North Korea. So if we keep the same kind of vibes, I don't think Korea will exist as Korea anymore. It will definitely be very left wing, communist kind of vibes.
Oh shit.
And yeah, he that guy is pro communism
Wow. How did they elect such a guy?
because they, first of all, there's some evidence of voter fraud. Yeah, and
Whoa.
Chinese people. There's actually quite a lot of evidence of that.
Oh
Like
my
you see
gosh.
Chinese people coming in with suitcases to the voting booth and then fucking off to the airport right after putting a ballot. I know.
Damn. There's all kinds of crazy stuff happening in Korea that like there's no media publicity about this stuff outside of Korea, right?
Yeah, but like the thing that the media really fucked up is they, like, especially Western media, they made the previous president who got impeached, Yoon Sung-yeol, look so bad. And they made the new one, Lee Jae-myung, look so good. And then after he got elected, all of these things came out, and they're like, "Oh, this pro-China, pro-communist guy, oops, regret." And the American Korean people who are still allowed to vote, because they didn't like naturalize to become an American, they voted for Lee Jae-myung, who turned out to not even like what the fuck, not even like believe in the same values as them. So yeah, so if Korea it goes in the same direction as it is right now, I don't think I'd ever want to come back.
Yeah.
Like,
Makes sense.
why would I go? Why would I come back when I can just go to France and be in the same shithole situation?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying, okay, I'm very grateful that France really did help me out in my unemployment and my health issues. Okay, I'm very grateful for that. But like, I was deserving of that. I am a French national.
Yeah.
Like, my family has paid taxes. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
they, I used up their money. Okay.
Yeah. Makes
But
sense.
yeah, so I'm not too, and if they, even if they do bring foreigners into Korea to try to like balance out the low birth rate, the barrier to entry to like being treated as a Korean is so low.
Oh, so high,
I
you
mean, I
mean?
mean, so high, so high. Sorry, my bad. Like, but at the same time, they'll hand out passports very easily.
Yeah, interesting.
So
They're handing
yeah,
out
so
passports already? Like,
yeah, like
okay.
when I think last year or 2 years ago, uh, when I was a dual citizen, they were like, "Hey, you gotta choose," and then it was COVID, and I couldn't choose because the fucking French Korean embassy in France wouldn't ever open.
Damn.
Yeah, so I couldn't do anything. But yeah, so I get to Korea and I'm like, hey, I'd like to revisit my whole dual nationality situation. And they're like, oh, no, you can't. You already lost it. So you're forever going to be seen as French. And I was like, yeah, but can't I just apply to be Korean? And they're like, since you already had it and you lost it, you have to wait till you're 65 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird.
And then the guy right next to me in line, right behind me, he's an Iranian dude who has no Korean blood, no Korean ties, no Korean wife. Because I was looking at the wife in a hijab, did not look Korean. And they're like, oh, you're welcome. Here's your passport. Welcome to being Korean. And they hand him the blue passport. And I'm like, bro.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be entitled, but I deserve that shit more than you.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. You're half Korean after all.
Yeah.
All right,
Like my
Gahi.
Korean mom standing right there. Anyway, sorry, my
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. I wish we could talk more, but I do have to run.
No, I'm
Um,
sorry, my bad.
no worries. This has actually been super, super fascinating. You were every bit as interesting as I thought you were going to be, and also, yeah, just you seem like you're generally interested in learning about this stuff and knowing about these different cultures and stuff, which is amazing. I would have expected no less. Okay, have a nice night, and let's chat more frequently than once every 5 years going forward.
That would be nice.